Todd and Robbie from This Bar Saves Lives, which you've seen out in the lobby. We have Danny from Sevenly, who produces beautiful clothing. You should all check it out. And then we have Bryn, a dear friend of the foundation, who's the founder of Riot.org. So Bryn, I think I'm going to start with you. So you straddle a bit of, this concept of doing well by doing good and bringing it into media, by using journalism as the media part, and then as a business, your business is structured as a social enterprise. So for you, you may want to explain Riot.org a bit to them, but also what for you and your organization does doing well by doing good mean?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Riot is a news website where every news story has an action associated with it. So we have a very young demographic of readers who, based on a story that they read, they can get involved. They can sign petitions or donate or write representatives or whatever sort of the story calls for, and we cover most of the news that's going on. My background is a humanitarian. I've been running nonprofits for the last decade in Africa and Haiti, and also a filmmaker. And a lot of what I was seeing on the ground is if you could tell a really great film, as we all know, you can inspire people to take action and get involved. So the idea was, how do you stretch that from just a documentary to what's happening in the world and covering all of the events? And I think, from what I was seeing was that I'm a news junkie and I grew up that way, but I was seeing that there was a real lack of an independent news source for young people where they could really get the news. And the places out there where young people are going, which is sort of the BuzzFeeds or Gawker, even Vice, had really this sort of cynical world view, and were also a lot of fluff without having real information. Lists of BuzzFeed, which is I think one of the most viewed news sites, is just lists of things. And this really made me sad. And I wanted it to be a for-profit company. We're a for-profit company. Although we haven't made any profit, so I think it's something we have to change that. So it's still a not-profit.
One step at a time.
Yeah. Good. It's a good company. Anyway, but I wanted the flexibility of that, and I was so sick of working for nonprofits and trying to raise money. I couldn't have another fundraiser ever again. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, great. No, that's phenomenal. You should all check out and follow Riot if you don't. So, Todd and Robbie, you guys have fit into what's now become kind of a staple of social enterprises, that buy one, get one model. So I'm just wondering, how did you come to that decision that you wanted to structure your business like that? And what does it look like in terms of impact for you?
Well, we, much like you, we're a for-profit company, but we always say we're for less profit. Right now we're no profit, but we're getting to less profit.
We're building towards less profit.
We're building towards.
That's the goal.
Yeah, we need a small level of profit. But it started really, as Kathy was saying, I was doing a lot of work in Africa, finding health care for kids on the ground. Our other partner, Ryan, who couldn't be here today, and I went to Liberia in 2008 and saw Plumpy Nut being used in refugee camps to bring, malnourished children on their deathbed back to life, essentially. And I had seen a piece on 60 Minutes about it and was really inspired. A year later, Ryan called me after reading Blake Bukowski's book, Start Something That Matters, and said, why don't we do a one-for-one? Because the issue with this refugee camp is that they were running out of Plumpy Nut and they didn't have any way to get more. UNICEF wasn't delivering more because the Liberian Civil War had ended and it wasn't really in the news and it wasn't sexy place to donate money to, so they weren't sort of sending Plumpy Nut there. We wanted to find a sustainable way, long-term, to provide Plumpy Nut, and like you said, it started out with fundraisers and how do we do this, and it was, the biggest long-term fix we could find was this one-for-one. And our
You want me to
impact.
start talking now? Is that what you're looking at me?
Sure. No, I feel like I'm doing all the time. So here,
I think he's doing great, right?
really, no. But yeah, and so I think the next part of your question was our impact so far. I mean, you can take that part.
I'd like to.
I'll finish off.
I think what we're really excited about is the potential for the added value that social enterprise can offer to nonprofit organizations. And I mean, I think it's like a really huge deal. I mean, you know, even in y'all's film, Branson referenced some sort of repositioning of the profit motive. And that's actually a really huge deal right now. You know, the way I like to explain what we do, you know, when I'm explaining to people, it's like, you know, traditionally, you know, let's say there's $100 in the world to spend, and $99 of that might go towards like feeding yourself and, you know, just everyday things, and then $1 of that might go towards charity. And so up until recently, there's all these new charities coming up, doing amazing things and finding incredible ways to be more efficient and maybe stretching that dollar to $2. But ultimately, you end up fighting over the same amount of money. And so the question is, how can we turn that even into more? Social enterprise is tapping into that other $98 and feeding it into these organizations who are really at the core of doing all these good things. And that's what I love about what's happening right now, because the more of us that pop up, the more efficient the entire model is going to become, and the more we're going to get a lot more good. I mean, I think, you know, again, referencing your film, like, I think capitalism gets a really bad rap. It's an awesome thing. There's a reason why money exists, but it's about making it do good, and that's what I'm really excited about for us on an impact level. I hope that one day that you know, we are just as much of a contributor to solving the hunger crisis as the nonprofits that are out there.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Sevenly is for sure on that same track. And you guys have a bit more of a unique model. So rather than supporting just one cause, how do you vet the different causes you choose, and what does your model really look like?
Well, it's funny listening to everybody in
Yeah.
the video stuff. We're definitely on the same path, trying to do it to complement among such great visionaries. But I mean, I think the easiest way to explain it is that we're trying to do economic judo. We're like trying to use a force that already exists and redirect it. And so the way we do is we try and find great products in the market. For the most part, they're products that already have some kind of give back kind of component to them. And then out of our own revenue, we then donate $7 every time that somebody buys one of these products. One of the things that we saw, or two of the things that we found was, number one, people don't even know really where to give. Everybody maybe wants to, and there's something when you go to Ralph's, they always ask if you want to give to whatever the cause is in the moment, and you're like, okay, $1. But for the most part, there's not really a way to get a directory of different kinds of causes, and we thought the best way to do that is to basically have a new campaign every single week that brings to surface some kind of cause somewhere else in the world or in domestically, and then provide great products that also give back on their own behalf, but then use $7 from what we get from them, taking it out of the budget out of somewhere else. Like, we don't do very much marketing, like, at all. In fact, we cut into our revenue to do that, and for the last little over 2 years now, we've raised just above $3 million that we've given away worldwide. And, it's ultimately inspiring in such amazing ways, because the same thing. It's like I'm the biggest fan of capitalism, but it's basically capitalism needs the accountability of the public that takes part in it, and I think there's a million ways to debate whether or not it's good or bad or whatever. I mean, I think it's amoral, but some of those companies that were on the thing, I mean, good or bad, they want to partner with us to donate more money, so we're willing to take it and redirect it to different things. So I mean, we I think are the bottom rung of the change movement, because we're not trying to change people's, I guess, focuses. We're just trying to make sure that they understand that there's things they can do that they're already doing and give back, and hopefully get them to change the way they buy, get them to change the way they look at things. And there's an inspiring video that I saw somebody, and he was just saying that, I mean, his hope is that someday when he has kids, and he's like 25, 26, that he's going to give his kids a choice: do you want this or this? And the first thing they're going to ask for is like, okay, what does it get back to? Because it seems like a very realistic kind of way to actually change the way people do shop.
Right. Yeah. So, Zach and Chris, you guys are similar to Bren. You're in both areas. You're in the business and activist world, but you're also filmmakers now, whether you like it or not. And
Crept up on us.
yeah, and so your solution or your approach has been microfinance. And how and why did you come about and choose that? Why did that seem like the best solution to you? And then also, why aren't we seeing more of it here? Why don't we see it in the States?
Yeah, it's a lot of questions. I'll
Just
build
get
into one
yeah.
question. Well, I think we could go back for just 1 sec on why we did this experience of living under $1 a day for the 56 days was to try to tell the story of extreme poverty in a new way that would engage a wider audience. Think about ourselves. We were really frustrated with all of the commercials we were seeing around just portraying poverty in this guilt-based fashion that wasn't an effective way, I don't think, of inspiring action to support the great work that you guys are doing. And so that was really the core principle, was around showing the empowerment. And then when we actually went into this village, microfinance is this amazing tool that we saw in this community where people, for those who aren't familiar with it, is this process of getting access to small loans and savings accounts to empower someone to bring themselves out of poverty. And it is just a single part of the solution, but it is a very effective tool. And the reason why it's great to talk about on this type of panel is it's sustainable, obviously. So it's when someone gets access to one of these loans, they're actually paying a small amount of interest on top of it to allow them to allow these banks to continue to provide these loans sustainably in the future. And for us, we actually really saw in this community just an amazingly an amazing engagement with this service, and also an amazing repayment rates of these loans. That actually, in the community that we were in, 100% repayment rate.
And so one of the things we do now a lot is speaking, right? So this morning we just spoke to 240 middle schoolers in Central LA. From this film, microfinance isn't really what we talk about, right? We talk about the belief that change can happen, and that that small impacts can create a huge effect in the lives of the extreme poor. And it's all about, it isn't about doing good because of guilt, it's because we believe we can empower people. And so microfinance is just a great way of kind of talking about, okay, now we want to do something, how do we manage our good intentions? And because development has had a lot of failures, right? So, and it's talking about, okay, microfinance is tailored towards the needs of the poor, certain models that we believe in. And it's and it's a really easy way to explain to mostly high schoolers. We don't normally talk about microfinance to middle schoolers, but think about Rosa, who's the main character of our film, right? She lives in a rural village, and there's no ATMs, there's no banks, right? So banking has completely had to turn itself on its head and come to the poor, right? So they have loan officers that come, and it's like, oh, whoa, that totally makes sense for a high schooler. They're like, whoa, that had to totally change what I think of banking or this type of solution. And then the second part is, Rosa doesn't have collateral. So what do? They have social collateral, right? They have a group of women that come and get lent to. So it's like being able to use this storytelling to talk about how do we empower people, and how do we empower people through ways that isn't a handout but a hand up, right? That's like respecting their dignity and these principles that are really important. So for us, through our storytelling, what our goal is to make someone believe they can make a difference, and how to do that in a way that's effective. And so, it's been amazing to see the engagement if you can do it in a way that people can really connect. We've been the #1 documentary on iTunes the last 2 weeks, and we've been able to have over 1 million views on our YouTube and a lot of social media views, and really our point is to engage our peers and our people. So when you say our solution is microfinance, it's not really microfinance, it's really to make people believe that they can be an effective part of the solution and do it easily. So.
We launched a year ago, and it's been really successful so far. So we've got millions of articles being read on our site every month, which is great. We just did a big campaign where we raised $1.5 million for nonprofits, which has been exciting. But for us to continue to grow, we have to build our audiences and really try to prove this model that people demand more from their news and from their media. We also have a little bit of a one-for-one model, which is that we feature a nonprofit on our website every week, which is our Cause of the Week, and we give some of our advertising revenue to that cause. So we're even able to say to our young readers that just by coming and visiting Riot, you're making an impact for some of these nonprofits, which is good for us because we can also say, why would you visit? Why would you get your news from Yahoo or AOL and one of the sort of the big corporations. So for us, it's just to continue to grow it as we're doing, and we're doing a very interesting collaboration with Google Glass right now that I think is going to be pretty groundbreaking. And my partner, my co-founder's in the Philippines right now doing relief work, and so I think as all of those things build up, it'll continue to sort of build the company.
For us, you might hear it across the board. It's just it is that audience, a larger audience, just to kind of be able to plug it in. And the cornerstone of our business is social media. Like we basically have almost all of our contact through Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, Facebook, and we build it from that. I hope I don't offend anybody in saying this, but I mean, in I guess my opinion, I speak for all the company, as far as Seven is concerned, but really feel like the 90s was the era of awareness, and now we're like in an era of action. I kind of get frustrated every time I see these awareness campaigns, because I really want to do more than be aware of it, because I mean, we've had 20 years almost since then that there's been a lot of awareness and not any action. So, but it is that audience, it is spreading that out more, and we thrive on it because we just need the audience so that we can tell our story, and we do our best to tell it the best we can to convince them, and hopefully be more than aware that there is somebody starving in a different country that you'll never meet, but that person could be the one person who does something different that changes the rest of the world. And so, I mean, if anything, we want to be the company of opportunity for the rest of the world based on individuals, and with that, we just need to widen our audience.
Everything he just said.
We need really hungry people.
People need to snack more frequently. Definitely, social media and just spreading the word is a huge way you can help spread the word for us in a very simple way. We're at This Bar on every platform. Also, we're trying to do booster programs where we help fundraise for programs outside the ones that we're already working with. So basically, it's like the same function as the Girl Scout cookies. So if you have a church or any sort of a nonprofit, you guys want to raise money, contact us. We'll get you the bars, and you can sell them and raise money for two causes at the same time. That's something, and then just a cool place to sell our bars and cheaper blueberries. Blueberries are a real problem right now.
Also, fair trade vanilla.
By the way, if I don't, just before, I think you guys are incredible, and I just want to tell you that. I mean, I think what you guys are doing is really inspiring. What you guys are doing here is awesome, and just bringing these communities together. It's such an important function, and like the most exciting part of what we're doing, beyond the fact that we're feeding starving kids, is all these people that we get to meet. Todd and I talk about it all the time. So thank you to you as well.
Yeah. You can get This Bar Saves Lives. You can order off the website, thisbarsaveslives.com. We're in Bristol Farms all around town. We'll be in Sprouts pretty soon. We're in a bunch
Intelligentsia, Bristol Farms,
Bellissimo Cafe.
Bellissimo.
That's right.
But our margins are better online, so.
And cheaper.
So I think ours is super easy. We need you to buy the film. And I think the film takes it from there. So it will give you a face to extreme poverty through the main characters, Rosa, Anthony, and Chino. It will give you a direction of how you can make a difference after you watch this film. And if you buy it on our website, again,
The margins are better.
and from every purchase on our website, we give $1 to Anthony and Rosa's Chino's their education fund. And someone bought the film for $500 the other day. So we make $4.99. They make,
Yeah, so it's just great to see that people are willing to contribute on top of that. And we also, kind of in line with Sevenly, you guys were a bit of an inspiration for us, where we now source fabrics directly from the main character of our film, who hand weaves these to keep her dream alive of becoming a nurse. And so she supports her education by selling us these fabrics, and we sell them on our website, so anyone
we have a lot of middle schoolers wearing
Yeah, middle schools are really into it right now. But just if you guys want to support that as well, you can find these products on our website.
What can I ask you?
What is your website?
livingon1.org.
Yeah.
You got a question?
I don't know if are you sure about that? Because I mean, I feel like we've met so many women doing really cool. I mean,
They are,
Yeah.
but I don't see them as much. I
Yeah.
guess. I don't feel like we.
I notice them everywhere.
I don't know why that is. I can tell you that there are 3 founders of our company, but the majority of our staff, which are really amazing unpaid interns,
Yeah.
Yes.
are primarily women.
Yeah.
Unpaid, that's.
Only because we don't have them. Because we're a negative profit
Low
company.
profit.
They will be paid at some point. But, I mean, Ravi does all the gathering of people who want to work for us, and I would say 90% of it is.
I feel like this makes me sound like a perv. I can guarantee you right now that there is a massive uprising of female talent and women, like female leaders. Men are going down. So, like, if we all are in control right now, I think that's awesome because it's about to end. And I can tell you in the recruiting process, every time we go out and get interns, I have to apply my own affirmative action program to be like, okay, I can't have 8 females in there. This looks ridiculous. I mean, and definitely in the nonprofit world, that has got to be more. That, I mean, it's all and that's at the core of all this. What we do doesn't exist without the nonprofit core.
Fine.
And my office, as you know, is sort of run by women. Molly runs everything at Riot, and our readership is actually a majority young girls too, which we found are more prone to
Yeah, I
social
think
action.
Gemma is maybe half of your readership. She's out there religiously every day.
And actually, sorry.
No, I was gonna say, it's funny that you said, because we do work with a lot of charities, and I can't even think of one charity that doesn't have a woman at its head that we work with. Not only that, our viewership, the customers that we work with, it's 85% women. We have like vast women demographic, so it's. But I don't know if this was someone's point earlier. The amount of impact you can have on people's lives and working in these kind of organizations, I think that you see it more. But this last April, I was in Nigeria for a few weeks, and it's a total, like almost a different planet in the way that they are there, as far as the way they have to live, the way they do to survive. And one thing that just made my jaw drop, especially if you associate with things that you do here, just to give you a parallel, I had a car that the engine went bad, and it cost me $3,000 to put a new engine in it. But for $2,500, you can literally pay for a child to go to school from kindergarten into high school. And only 30% of the kids actually get to go to school, not even 30% finish school. And the worlds of opportunity that you give that child by allowing them to get an education, it opens them up to like a universe of possibility. Because for the most part, most kids don't go to school. Families of 5 live on $60 a month. And things are more expensive, you can believe that, Nigeria, because everything's imported because it's just a despot country for the most part. And it's like those kind of things, when people talk about, oh, don't get a cup of coffee this week and that money can go towards something, you would be so surprised how much you can impact a life with just the littlest amount of money. And it's in doing that, I mean, I don't think that anybody here would have to even change anything that they do to really impact like lives throughout their life. And I mean, I think it's so great that you guys are here. I think it's so great that you guys want to get involved. When you asked earlier what can you do now, I mean, I think the thing to do now is just be more responsible with the actions that you already do, and then from there, go forward and do something.
We talk about the compounded impact with some frequency, in terms of the cost and all that. It really does all add up because, it's the little things that allow a person even about even to get to education. Like one of the things we talk about is, like in our case specifically, we're helping most of the kids who are about to die in a matter of days as a result of severe acute malnutrition. And that, the impact of that moment upon the families, all of a sudden, having their family together, saving the money of having to provide healthcare to that child, then allowing them to be able to go out and get an education and become a functioning member of their communities, and then feed back into the economy, like those local economies. Like all that stuff adds up from every angle, whether you're coming in through the microfinance world, or through one of the, through Rise, or through Sevenly, or even through Plumpy Nut, it all adds up, and it's pretty incredible.
So what I was saying in the box of 9 bars, that's by buying a box of 9 bars, you're sending 9 packets of Plumpy Nut to children who need it. So that's essentially 4.5 days of life-saving food
Right.
And the thing with Plumpy Nut, for those of you who don't know, is a child who's literally on the verge of dying from malnutrition needs 2 packets of Plumpy Nut a day for 10 weeks, and it takes them from skin and bones to just being a plump, happy baby.
So it's about, it adds up to, I think we said around like 145 packets of Plumpy Nut is the whole program of taking a kid from like, starving to healthy, and just to, I just want to make sure that the impact. We're at almost, we launched in June, mostly through word of mouth. We're eclipsing 60,000 meal packets that we've donated just through selling our bars that otherwise these kids would have never received, and that in and of itself I think speaks to the impact.
What happens after the 10-week program?
We just lose their numbers.
Yeah.
No, the Save the Children we work with continue to work on nutrition and health with these children, and there are different programs that they go into, and there's a lot of educating the mothers about how to keep kids healthy and that sort of thing. But Plumpy Nut is specifically designed to deal with that critical first window, that gets the kids past that hump, and then they can, move on from there.
And also, just add one thing too, since we're talking about business and doing good. We work with a lot of nonprofits, we work with a lot of companies. Certainly you see that it's becoming more vanguard for companies to give back. I think that millennials especially sort of are demanding, because of these organizations that have popped up, Tom's in particular, more from their companies. And so it's really been terrific to see that, because as consumers, of course, we have so much power in what we buy. But also, one of the things that we pay very close attention to is that those aren't exploited, right, as well. So there can be a lot of what I call cause washing that happens, I think, where companies are trying to meet their corporate social responsibility. So we're really excited about sort of the new movement that's happening, but we're also keep a close eye and try to educate our own readers about don't be fooled by people saying that it's helping in a great way, because there's also, we worked with a clothing brand that asked us to shoot a video for their nonprofit. They have a foundation on the side of it, and we were going to shoot this video, and it would have been nice revenue, but we sort of dug a little deeper, and they were one of the clothing companies in the Bangladesh factory. So it was, despite the fact that they had opened a school in Africa, which is terrific, but a small 200-person school doesn't offset the fact that you treat your workers terribly. So it's something that we keep a really close eye to make sure that companies that we work with and companies that we feature have actually a holistic approach to everything that they do, as
Have
opposed
they
to
changed their approach since the...
No, we just don't work
We
with
just
them.
don't partner.
No, I don't think so. I mean, unless people like your film, which is The True Cost, until people start really paying attention to those things, I think it's possible to miss it. So I think that it's really an important topic for us too, because it's, as I think most of us who have spent time in the field and worked in those conditions and seen these people, it's powerful to be in those places where you see that, if you're asking somebody for a donation, that it can really change people's lives. But if you misuse that donation, it's irresponsible and criminal. So for us, my partner and I especially, we've spent the last 10 years on the ground, and so we're very careful about where our money goes, where we give it, what organizations we support, and what companies we also work with.
Who wants to take that one?
I think you bring up a lot of good points. I mean, I don't know if this will answer what you're asking, but this is something I've been told since I was a little kid, that you always judge someone's actions, not their intentions. And to be honest, if there is energy or effort or power that can help improve someone's life, and I can't imagine turning that down because based on a principle that they're doing something you also don't agree with. I mean, obviously there's a line in that, and you don't want to take money from somebody who stole from your neighbor and sold it on eBay and whatnot, because if you see that connection. But I mean, I think there's so many individuals and or companies that are doing so much damage. If you can redirect some of that money into doing some good, I have a hard time saying that that's a wrong thing to do. I mean, there obviously is ironies like the Sparklets bottom thing, which I could never come up with an answer for. But the fact is that they actually are trying to donate to something that is helping. And maybe they're offsetting themselves, maybe they're not, but that's money that wouldn't have gone toward that anyway. I mean, I don't know if I'm an idealist or an ignorant person, but I don't think that we could ever solve all the issues of the world. I just know that we can make an impact. And so I'm not really trying to solve everybody's problems.
Right.
Just trying to make it.
I would kind of disagree. I mean, I think there's a different way of looking at it, right? There's people that I would take anyone's money. Like, if you want to give me money, as long as I don't have to associate my brand or have to market them with my brand, right? So
That's
there's a
the
big
big
difference, right? So
Correct.
for our tour, for example, we lived in a 1978 school bus for 4 months, which was crazy. And we had tour sponsors, but we were very careful in who sponsored us. You know, the clothing brand that sponsored us was Kavu, which is very, they pay a lot of attention to where they're sourcing from, et cetera, or Whole Planet Foundation, or Whole Foods. And those are brands that we were willing to put on the side of our bus.
Right.
But at the same time, if Chevron wants to give me $50,000 and I don't have to tell anyone, I'll take that.
Okay, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
difference.
I won't take-
As long
I
as
won't
I
take
think
that
as a culture and a society, we don't, and obviously no one in this room does, but we have an awareness not to take that money as sort of a dismissal or, an excuse for what these people are doing in a systematic fashion, and I think you guys addressed that in your film really well. Like you said, I mean, I'm happy to take money from anyone as long as I don't have to endorse the BS that they're.
Or listen to them, I think, is the other
Right.
thing.
Sure, yeah.
That's my
Which is the
Right,
more
exactly.
shady area.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, they give me $50,000, now I have to do something to make them happy.
Right.
I don't think you can take that money without it buying that kind of influence.
It's definitely
Yeah.
I mean, even we're very careful about where we take money. Although as our not profits, it becomes really difficult to. I just did a project for Sony Ericsson, which was like I lost sleep over that. But there is a line, and we talk about it a lot, which is when do we sell out, and when do we sell out our ethics, and how do we keep the lights on, right? So we walk that line all the time, but we take it very seriously who we work with and what that impact is, because it's important. And if they can get to us and they can influence us, who are these, we think we're activists, then we're all in trouble. That is true.
Yeah.
I think ultimately you're weighing the idea of like, is there some sort of value in not accepting money from these guys out of principle, thinking that if you do that, somehow that's going to change their behavior, versus what is the value of that money that they're donating and what's the impact of that money in the long term. And I think ultimately it has to be viewed practically in the way that most of you guys are saying, which is that you can accept that money. Obviously, like how you associate with it is of some ethical concern. But ultimately, these are massive amounts of money. And when you're looking at the immediate needs around the world, I think on a practical level, those millions and millions and maybe billions of dollars that these CSR programs are providing are probably creating a much stronger ideological force of good-hearted, socially conscious people. The battle is not economic. At the end of the day, it's going to be ideological, and that's just all about like good people sharing good ideas. And so, I mean, I'm not turning that money down. I don't know why. Because either way, like BP's going to find someone who's going to give money. They're going to find something to do with that money. So why not put it to good use, and then ultimately you're using that money to beat the shit out of them down the road.
Right.
But you're
still
staking your brand. I mean, yeah.
I think the brand thing is the ethical line that you walk. It's like how much you think about it. That I think
the
We
last-
have to cover this over lunch.
Okay.
The last one I want to make really quickly is just that if you're, okay, so we need to be responsible leaders ourselves as well. If we don't need $50 million or don't have the capacity right now to feel like we can maximize that impact, I think that's a decision that we should all be making as well, and try to, if we need $2 million to really run our program effectively, take that and then figure out how to redirect it into another area. And I think that's like our job as responsible leaders, not just to take money for the sake of taking money. I think that's a big thing that happens within the nonprofits in the US when there are 1.5 million nonprofits and everyone's vying for money just to say they run a nonprofit or whatever it is, or say they're making a difference. Be good leaders. Yeah.
And ultimately, we started a for-profit company so we wouldn't have to take money from people like this.
Right, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much.